Welcome to another episode of Recipe to Success. Today I've got something special and different for you today. Saif Adam is here to join us. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Really excited about this one. I think it's going to be a little bit of a different kind of value for all the listeners and people watching. So for anyone that doesn't know who you are, why don't you give us a bit of an introduction?
I'm Saif Adam, singer-songwriter. You could say entrepreneur, father, husband, brother, but ultimately, like, I try and add value to the community and try and build others as well. But yeah, I've never really been asked that in a long time, so it feels a bit strange.
Yeah, it puts you a bit on the spot,
Yeah.
and sometimes it gets you thinking, like, well, okay, what do I actually do? Like,
Well, for people to even, I know it stems from being a singer-songwriter. So all of where I am today stems from how I started my journey as being a singer-songwriter. So essentially, it will always be that. But then along the journey, so many other things just happened along the way. So yes, a concoction of lots of things. But other than that, it's all good. Yeah, singer-songwriter.
perfect. And I want to go straight into the story because I'm intrigued to learn as well, where it began, and because obviously we can see where it's led to, but it's always fun to see how it all started. So let's go right to the beginning. Saif's upbringing, or even just the start of, your career today.
Yeah, ultimately as a kid, secondary school, I was always into football. I was like kind of the sporty one, I was part of a big family. My brother was actually into music. He was the one that was a musician. And my sisters were just, sisters into a little bit of everything kind of thing. But I was more so the sporty guy, running for my district. I was like a really fast sprinter, football player, played for my district as well, played at a high level. But I suddenly just kind of fell into music by accident. It was through a music lesson, and everybody had to be partnered up. I haven't told the story in ages. So everyone had to be partnered up, and there was a guy who I was good friends with, best friend at school. He played piano, and I didn't know any other instrument. I just knew how to sing. So I learned how to sing by just listening to MJ, like Michael Jackson. And
The
Boyz
greats.
II Men, yeah, those, even Ray Charles, which is a bit strange for as a young person listening to that, but I just used to love his delivery and the intent behind his voice and vocals. So yeah, with that, I partnered up and we had to put something together. So we had to improvise something. So I freestyled a song, and the teacher went absolutely bonkers. She was just like, wow, I can't believe that your voice is like, and I didn't even think I had a good voice because I'm comparing it to my brother and listening to MJ and all that.
That's a special music lesson.
Sorry?
That's a special music lesson.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just singing, just kind of freestyling. And then, because my brother always used to kind of play the piano, the way the house was the piano was in the middle of the house, so it would resonate throughout the whole house. So I'd be upstairs, I can hear the piano. I'd be anywhere, you can't escape it. And you can hear him singing along, and he's always playing songs. He loved playing Disney songs, because I suppose when you're younger, he was only 3 years older than me, so he was at secondary school and so was I. He just kind of developed his skill in that sense. And then he was classically trained as well in lots of other instruments. But I got a lot of my singing talent, I believe, from listening to him, without even knowing, And then from then she was just like, oh, you need to be part of the concerts, the school concerts. And I was like, nah, only like kind of geeks do that. By the way, now I'm grown up, being a geek is cool.
Yeah, it is.
I just want to say, yeah. But at the times, like, because when you're a footballer and you play for the school.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, you're so popular and everybody wants to know you. You have lots of friends. You never have a lack of
You're the cool
friends.
kid.
Yeah, you are. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to sing, like, in the choir or be
Because
part of the
rapping,
school
would have been
concert.
a different story slightly.
Oh, yeah. But then no one really used to rap back then.
True.
Yeah. So, like, there was, but it wasn't part of
It wasn't
UK
like how
culture.
it is now, yeah.
Nothing at all, I think at the time, not even So Solid Crew was out. So this is going back, right? So I said yes, because I am that type of person that just jumps into things. I'm just like, okay, why not? Let's just do it. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that reaction, actually, from almost like scoring a goal. Everyone was like, whoa, like, you can sing. And I was like, I can sing. And they was like, yeah, you can sing. You're amazing. I was like, okay, brilliant. Anyway, no one would turn up to these concerts, right? It would be, boring and then I did the first show and all the school heard about it because I used to rehearse whilst lunch was going on. We used to rehearse in the big hall, and they could hear me singing, and they've never heard anyone sing like pop songs or even the Disney songs. So I was heavily influenced by the songs that my brother was kind of playing. So I didn't have to sing any of the like gospel songs or anything like that. It was all like Lion King. So like Circle of Life was kind of the song that everybody was listening to every lunch, and safe as singing. So people would sneak through, and I've kind of built a little bit of a fan base within my school. It's really strange, right? So when it comes to the concert night, they sold out all the tickets, and all of my friends and all of the years below and above kind of used it as an opportunity for everyone to kind of get together. As school, you're out of school, and you can tell your parents, I'm going to go to the school and watch a concert, and they're like, okay then. So it was like a first experience for everyone. Anyway, they had to extend the hall, they had to make it, they sold out tickets, performed and loved it, and it was like a proper show. And then every year I was performing more and more and more. I was doing lots of things. I got scouted by a talent agency. I was on TV for a show called London's Burning and all of that, and then represented Havering in a Havering song.
How old were you at this point?
I was probably year 8, 9, 10, so it was all around 8, 9, 10. And then year 11 I was kind of focusing more on GCSEs, and really enjoyed it. Like I performed in so many unique places, performed at the Millennium Dome when it was the O2 at the time, performed in Wembley, the Bank of England, all these really weird, strange places. So that took me into really cool places. So that is really, really where it started. And then I started just growing into an artist. I think I started enjoying singing, and I started writing. That's kind of what built me to that point. But then growing up in a Iraqi family, we were the kind of the rule of thumb was school, college, uni. So I kind of followed the same thing. So went to college, studied, done that, went to uni, done that. So I'd done everything that I was supposed to do. And then after uni, I worked as a administrator for a company. And then I was getting better and better in that, and I was really well paid. So it was very difficult to kind of move away from that. And I was still singing, but at the same time, and I've missed out a big chunk, apologies, at uni. So I went to uni around the same time. I went to UEL, and people like Roll Deep, Heartless Crew, So Solid, all these guys, they were all performing all the time. And I used to put on some events as well for the student union, because I was always into music and I knew a lot of DJs at the time. And I started, when I was at work, I started seeing people like Tiny Temper, Dizzy Rascal, Wiley, they all started charting. I was thinking, I was in studios with these guys, like around uni times and stuff, and I was like, I could do that. Like, I could sing that, Tishy Strider, all these people. And then I just started just singing again, and I found the love for it, and I performed at, it was just like a karaoke kind of contest, and I performed. It was just like a work thing. And then somebody was like a A&R for Iron Records and gave me a card and said, I think you've got an amazing voice, mate. And, I always used to sing like John Legend, like Ordinary People and stuff, just the kind of classical kind of R&B kind of pop songs. And I'm going down memory lane. So then after that, I didn't even take it that seriously, and I just left it. And then I contacted that first friend that I went to secondary school with, who played the piano, and said, listen, I need to do a demo. Are you still doing music? And I didn't really keep contact with him at all, because he went his own route and I did mine. And then he was like, yeah, I've still got a studio. I've got a studio at the back of the house if you want to come. So I'd done Ordinary People, backing track. I'd done all of that.
Beautiful.
And then by the time I sent it to him, the guy said, look, I'm traveling at the moment. I haven't got time to kind of give you proper feedback, but I'll let you know. Anyway, I didn't receive anything. I was like, So I had all these recordings now, I think about 3 different songs. Another song by Daniel Merriweather, Red, and So Beautiful by, I can't remember who the singer is for that, but these are like really cool songs that showed off my vocal ability. And I was like, I've got these recorded now, professionally, done a video and everything. What am I going to do with it now? And then I just had this idea. I was still working in the office. Let me just Google. I had this really weird way of thinking when I was a kid. Yeah, like I'd Google record labels in London, record labels in Essex, record labels in like all in every county, and I just shot the demo out to all of them.
That doesn't sound weird. It sounds resourceful
I
and
don't know what's
entrepreneurial.
wrong. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I just saw Google, and when I found, back in the day, Google was kind of that place where you could find everything, and you've got emails, and so you'd go to websites, and then even then the Google search engine wasn't as good as it was before, so you'd have to write a record label wanting artists, record label. You had to two different little quote, like different kind of little words to kind of get different things back. Anyway, I sent it all through. BMG responded. Another small record label did, and then there was an Islamic record label that I sent something to, didn't receive anything, because ideally I was like, I think channeling my work through an Islamic medium would have been a lot better for me, but there was no response, and I heard the word Nasheed. I grew up in Essex, by the way, but yeah, so there was no Muslims around, only when we'd go and see my family in London, we'd travel, and then there's like Muslims and there's halal meat. Before in Essex back in the day,
it was impossible.
It was impossible, yeah. So, that's kind of where it led me, man. Like it's a bit of a mix, and I was thinking about this when I had the call up from you guys, and I was thinking, a lot of people have structure towards where they are, and that they've travelled a certain journey. They really, and I really, if there's young people listening, I've achieved a lot, but there really was no structure. It was just being dynamic and reacting quickly and kind of taking risks and challenging the norm. And it was all on that. You could never plan a career as how it goes. I don't care who you are, what you've done, even with the monetary kind of value. So as you grow older, sometimes the money doesn't matter. It's actually about doing what makes you happy, because it's not sustainable. And then being a Muslim, it has to agree with family ethics and values. So I've had all of these battles along the way, and that's what's made me stronger, and it's helped me grow and sustain what I'm doing, because it's not on shaky ground. It's literally people know who I am, what I do. People are very clear with, look, he's got a good heart, he's got these skills of being a singer-songwriter, and he just wants to add value to the community. Now, this is where the juicy bit gets. I got a response, and then a guy called Jake Goslin, he's produced One Direction, Ed Sheeran, all of the hits. Yeah, even now they've got a hit, Holiday by KSI. He's one of the writers behind it. He's massive, absolutely massive. So the same, I went through Twitter seeing who these producers, like Wiley and Tiny, who are they speaking to? Like, who are the producers? Because you can
You're
see
really doing your research.
Oh, yeah, man. Like, it was there. Like, it was there in front of me. Like, I had to just kind of do it. Maybe it was just the way I was wired. And remember, I wasn't around these people because I kind of ejected myself out of that. I didn't even know really what studios were. I was performing in, like, youth clubs and stuff like that on the weekends, but I still didn't really connect with people there because it was very urban, and I come from a different upbringing where there isn't that story of rags to riches from me, and I have my parents to thank for that. They've worked really hard. Sometimes with a musician and an artist, people love that story, and I can never. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because when I was signed, they were urging me to say that you come from. It was hard, and what struggles, and it's like I grew up as a normal English person. Like my parents, really worked hard. They're both doctors in PhD. They went to University of Essex and stuff. So they really just worked hard for me to have a normal life.
For you to have the option of what you want to do.
Yeah,
pursuing what you want to do.
Yeah, with the cultural things that they brought back from Iraq, but at the same time, because they were working around education, they understood that around those years are super transitional for an individual, and if you're too like you can't do that, you're not allowed to do that, it's going to make that individual want to do it even more. So they kind of bless them, they kind of left it open, but also we had this element of trust that I had, and we were always religious. Islam was always part of our life, so I had this sensor already inbuilt in me. So when I feel scenarios would be a little bit, I'll tell you how to explain it. That feeling when you've lost your phone or your car keys and your heart just goes, that's that sensor that I had in my heart where I was feeling, am I pushing it too much here? And, or there'll be a scenario where it'd be, because when you sign these record deals, you go to these parties, you meet all these people, and these influential people, but it doesn't mean that their ethics and morals are in the same place as you. That doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means that alcohol isn't seen as a bad thing for them. It's for them when they're happy, when they celebrate, they drink alcohol.
So you almost have to have a kind of morality check within yourself. Like, am I pushing it, or can I get away with this, or does this go in line with my ethics?
You said something, can I get away with this? And it was that thing where it's not imposter syndrome, but it was kind of like, it's hard to explain. It was like, look, I just want to sing and I want to make records. I've got a story and I just want to, if I have to go through this, then it's only, a little bit of it, 5% of it. The problem is that 5% just grows in you, and just in your head, and ultimately at that age as well, where we're transitioning, we want our parents to be proud of us. They're always talking about, oh, my son does this and my daughter does this, and unfortunately that's how that generation was brought up, where the value of someone's worth was if they've got a degree. And
we genuinely feel that pressure, because we genuinely don't want to disappoint them.
No, because they fill us with love. Like, when they're there, like the connection that I had with my parents. If I was hurt, my mum was hurt. If I was stressed, she could tell I was stressed. She'd do anything in her power to make sure that, I was good again. And I know in other cultures it's exactly the same, but I can only talk about my own experience. Yeah. And they knew that we were thrown, there was no Muslims in my school. There was none. So when people saw me as well, they didn't see me as a colour. They didn't see me as, because they're young at that time, and there was no friction with religion or where you're from at the time, because there were no issues. Media wasn't reporting any friction at all. It was only when the Iraqi war and stuff come on, where they wanted to invade, and they created a narrative that, okay, well, Iraq now could be an enemy. So I had to kind of tread carefully at the same time. But ultimately, I was unapologetically safe. Always just myself, So I'll fast forward, sign the deal, touring, and about that kind of pushing the barriers and stuff. I performed in all of the Camden places, Shoreditch. I was headlining them. I was smashing it, literally smashing it. It got to the point where I was going to VIP parties and wasn't drinking, wasn't doing anything. But it was like, how long can I keep this going and keep it halal to and undercover as well, because I want them to see the success that I'm doing, but I don't want them to see this bit, right? Which is the graft, actually, for any artist, which is weird. So it's a very personal kind of thing.
Battles with yourself.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. But then when I'd perform in places that they were like industry events. They weren't normal bars. They were like, I think there was a place called McQueen's at the time, and it was just like where Jessie J, Ed Sheeran, I'm part of that same school, and Getz and all these people, we was all performing together. So we all knew each other, we were all performing, doing the same shows. And they were called industry events. So people like Virgin and all these would put them on, and I'd always be invited because as my skill was a live singer, I was able to hush like a very busy room. And yes, they're drinking, and yes, but as I was getting bigger and bigger, very quickly, the audiences were becoming a bit more refined and more industry based. So that was amazing. So yes, I'm doing something that I want to do, brilliant. And it got to a point where, and this is actually documented in Ed Sheeran's story, was that he had to fly out to Jamie Foxx's, they was flying to America, and every now and then Jamie Foxx, Lady Gaga, all these people do like little parties at their houses. And Ed flew out, and my label was like, do you want to go? You can go if you want. I was thinking, how am I going to tell my parents that I'm going to go to LA? Like, I haven't even travelled without them before anyway. Like growing up in Essex, I never even went on any lads' holidays and stuff like that. So I still maintained my halal kind of, ness throughout all of those years growing up. Even like with the events, it wouldn't be in a club, it would be in the student union, because that's a safe place for us to be, So I then was like, I don't think I can do this. And Ed at the time, he performed for them. And I had the skill where if I performed in front of people, they'd be like, oh, wow, you're going to be the next this, next that, next this. And actually, the great thing about me, there was no next this or next that. It was because I was so unique and a mix of an Essex lad. At the same time, I had this soulful voice and pop. And I was very quick in the studio because I've written thousands and thousands of songs. You know, the same thing with David Beckham. You know, he's better at anyone at taking free kicks because he took trillions times more than the next person. Same with like tennis players. It's
repetition.
It's just that, yeah. You know, I could put it more eloquently, but it is, you know, the basis of that. You know, if you do something more and more than the next person, you're going to do it better than others. So my songwriting skills was super fast. I had to make use of studio time. So I had to write. You had to be serious, get the song done in and out.
No time to waste.
Yeah, definitely. So I was trained on writing a good song and stuff, and using pop melodies and stuff. So massively refined, because I was working with the best people. Like even when you've got like with Jake and all these guys are making top 10 hits, global hits, not just UK, globally. You're around the best people, like, you know, all the heavy hitters. And it's so only now, well, then it was smashing it, but only now people are looking at them as legends, and we're like, oh, I was really happy to be around. I was touring with Ed, like literally, he'd be performing, I'd be performing after. We'd be doing shows, yeah. And it's on YouTube, but I bury it, like, because I don't want that to be my existence, because of, I knew that I needed to refine what I was doing as safe, and it needed to have something of value, and I didn't know what it was at the time.
Do you almost feel that it's a stain on your legacy, even though you value those moments? I
value everything from then in terms of the studio times. So the studio times were perfect, really clean, nice, and all focused about music. Whether there was girls in the room, whether it was always a good environment of people just wanting to write a good song. Okay. And my music was, you know, pop, acoustic. So I was around decent people. The skills that I learned in that environment and it allowed me to implement into the Islamic entertainment industry has stayed with me. So when I first started doing shows for charities, you know, the Muslim audience, I'll be talking, and I sing the first note. I'm very humble, by the way, but I look at it as very black and white in terms of a talent, right? And because I worked for it, you know, I performed like thousands of shows. I know how to silence a very busy room. So when I would do that, I'd do certain things, hold the mic back, and there was loads of different things that I'd do. And then the charities were like, oh, wow, there's an actual, rather than someone who just does Nasheeds and Allah, 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 there's someone that had something to say and mixed it up with Islamic content. And then after that, I started growing an audience through that, and then headlining shows, and then doing my own shows, and then traveling to Malaysia, Indonesia, traveled all over the world, man. Like, it was literally, you'd refresh the email and there'd be an inquiry. Hi, we're in Belgium, we're Islamic Society, and think we've been following you. You've got a great fan base here, and yeah, it was awesome. It was really awesome.
Almost a blessing.
Yeah, for me, it was brilliant. One, because I mean, we haven't spoken about the transitional moment from doing the mainstream.
I was just about to say.
And subhanallah, I think this was Allah's plan. I think, you know, and we can only trust that. My father works. He's a teacher at Islamic school, and for the first time ever, they was taking all the students out to Umrah, and he was like, "Oh, I need someone to look after my year 11s. Do you want to come along?" And I was like, "Okay." And this was at the same time where Ed Sheeran flew out to Jamie Foxx's house.
Wow.
And he's singing, and then he goes on Jamie Foxx's radio show, and then he's got a bidding war for people to sign him. And I can see that could have been me if I went there. It really could have. You know, we were around the same group, same writers. We all write the same because we all grew up exactly, in the same space. Or we had the same mentors. So we all grew up in different
same
areas.
Environment.
But exactly. Yeah, we knew how to, nail a song and stuff. So it was just. So I got invited by my dad, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go. And then I was just sitting there, and I, as part of being signed, you get sent a document every single month. I was part of the Writers Guild, and you'd have, what's his name? One Direction, Jason Derulo, all the American artists, all the UK artists, all on one list, and they're saying, looking for a song in the style of this and this, and you just pitch it. You do a pre-production, so it's just like a basic chord progression, sing the song, melody, and send it over, and then the label will then decide, let's take it forward, and we'd like One Direction to take it, and stuff like that. So I was in that really good place where a song could actually, go to #1 for just me penning it, you know. And I was looking at the list, and the songs were like Jason Derulo, Rihanna in about a girl in a club, and this. She sees the boys that she likes, and I was like, I'm not sure if I want to do this. I can't do this. Like, I've reached a certain point where I'm around amazing people, but it's conflicting with my religion. And I'm not saying I was walking around with a big beard or nothing, but my sensor was just going off all the time. My parents, how's it? Because I've got a good relationship with them. How did it go? How's everything? Yeah, studio is good. And if I had a performance, can we come and watch? No. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, it was a bit awkward.
Almost living two lives. Well, the morals were the same, but...
Yeah. So this is the thing where I built my self-worth and strength. So now, like, you know, and they're confident. They know I can say no. They know I'm good at that. And I built that through those experiences. But I had to, because being a Muslim in a very English environment, you build them anyway. You understand that, you know, outside you eat chips and burgers, and then at home you eat rice and you know, and stuff. So you have your cultural kind of comforts at home, which I love. I'm always been proud to be Iraqi, always been proud to be Muslim. But it was back then it was a very personal thing. Religion was super personal anyway. No one would talk about I'm a Christian, I'm a devout, or I'm a Jew, I'm a Muslim. No one would ever talk about it.
Yeah, it was pre-social media, and so those opinions weren't really welcome. Like, people just didn't talk about money, didn't talk about religion, didn't talk about political views.
No, that was football.
And people live more peacefully almost.
I agree. It was about playing out, knocking on doors, like, you know, with your friends, and I was thinking coming out to play, and it was all so innocent, and I feel it was a purer time. But then maybe the audience listening to this, some will resonate with that, and some will be like, what?
We've never experienced
knocking on the door and saying, is John in, or is Darren in, or is it to come and play? It's like, it's weird. Why didn't we call them anyway before? They had a house phone.
Landlines, yeah.
But we didn't call. I'd get on the bike, and then I'd just ride down and knock on the door as you're coming out, and, you know. And also to show how my parents played a role. Sometimes at the bottom of our street, we used our porch and our house as the central gathering place. So all the kids from down the road would all just sit. So if it rains, we're all sitting in our porch, and we're all playing games and talking and stuff. So we were so, like, in with the British culture and understanding that people need to play out and have fun, but you're not allowed to pass a certain point of the street, because we was in a cul-de-sac, so it was very safe to play, and all the parents look out for each other. So I was very immersed. So I would say I'm very British. In that sense, and even entering the Islamic environment is quite foreign to me as well. So when I saw people's attitudes towards music, towards people, it shocks me. Like, that just was like, wow, like, you know, I just
wasn't what you expected. Yeah.
No, there's people. It was segregated within even the Islamic culture, and I was just like, that felt a bit strange. But for me, I was always there for music, and that's it. I then, at what point did I started doing Nasheed? So then I went to Umrah, and I was just kind of soul searching and thinking, and an email come through, and I was like, I can't do this. So it come at a perfect time. And then I come back, and I was just like, I need to do something different. And then I started writing Nasheeds, and I think at the time an artist called Sami Yusuf, he was like, there wasn't many that was doing it, and there was an Eid song that always used to play, you know, every Eid, and I was like, this is nice, and because of my trained ear, I can hear melodies, I can hear it, and I could see that he's using a Arabic chord progression but English lyrics and stuff. And remember, I wasn't very Arabic. I was very British and very Essex, very Cockney kind of. So I got it, and I was like, but it still doesn't represent me. You know, I understood it, I enjoyed it, and understood the spirituality of it, and somebody that's very similar to us, but at the same time, he felt like a dad. He wasn't really my age, culture-wise. He wasn't wearing the clothes that I would wear. He wouldn't be talking about things that I'd be talking about. So I still felt a disconnect, you know, and that's what people look for in artists. They see a connection in someone. We're not forcing that connection. If someone looks like you,
you
resonate with them. And then if they're singing about an experience, it makes it a lot more fun than just reading a book, right? So they kind of delve into that artist. You know that feeling when you discover an artist and you just listen to stories within the songs.
Yeah.
And that's still there today, and that's why music is still around, you know, and singer-songwriter, that even that term is used, because I'm not a pop singer. I'm not gonna think of a melody that's just gonna resonate in your head and it's not gonna tell you anything. I would rather give you something of value, of meaning, and something that you can take home and you can implement, you know, in your own lives, whether it be loving your wife, whether it be sticking to prayer, it could be absolutely anything. But at the same time, a lot of these things have dual kind of responsibilities as well at the same time. So I understood that as an artist, you're representing a community as well. And I didn't realise that. I thought I was representing myself, and I had to worry about my own family reputation, not the Islamic community.
True.
You know,
It's a lot of pressure sometimes.
Yeah. It was a pressure that I didn't even understand at the time. You know, I was still growing. And this is what I said at the beginning of the podcast, was that nothing was planned. Everything was just reacting, being dynamic, listening to the signs, following what made me happy, and just and also try to keeping everything nice and happy. I don't want to go home and my mum and dad screaming at me about, what are you doing? Like that. And I never failed in those areas. Alhamdulillah, like the respect that I have for them was, I was always trying to please them, and pleasing them meant I was always on the right path, alhamdulillah. But saying that, I mean, I did really push it to the lines, like really push it. Like at one point I was headlining a nightclub in Mayfair. I didn't turn up to it, but it was like, you know, and then certain people within my family heard of it, and that's when I knew, oh man, like my brand is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But I learned a lot in that process, and as I said, I implemented into the Nasheed stuff. I then started reaching out to the Islamic labels. I was like, okay, let's do this. We're here again. Let's go. Yeah. And I was still living off my advance from the mainstream. I was happy. I was good. I was still signed as well. Just because I didn't go to LA didn't mean that I lost my deal. I had like a 5-year contract, right? And I still part of the Writers Guild. So every month we get sent that. I come back, and then I start researching Islamic music and Nasheeds. And Sami Yusuf come up, another artist, Mahir Zain, Yusuf Islam, formerly known as Cat Stevens. I think he's come back to Cat Stevens now, I'm not sure. And I started looking at it again. None of them really represented me as a British singer-songwriter. So I thought, I'm going to try something myself. And I started writing these Nasheeds, put it up on YouTube. Back then, YouTube was brilliant. So if you had something good, it, like in the first week, it went up to 50,000 views on a fresh channel, and then 100,000 and 200. And then I reached, through a friend of a friend, the founder of Awakening Records, who actually founded Sami Yusuf and Mahir Zain, was like...
Harris J as well, right?
And Harris J, yeah. And they said, come, we'd like to, perform. I think the exact way it happened, that he was saying, come and see the guys, they're coming to London, they're performing, and come and meet the guys. So then I did. Performed in front of the founders of Awakening and stuff, and it was really cool, really positive, really cool guys. And this is my first kind of interaction with the Nasheed industry, and I was like, cool, this is all right, this is nice. Performed, brilliant. They're like, brilliant. I'm talking to him, saying, okay, what do you want to happen? Because you know me, I'm like, I need to know what's going on here, like, you know. And didn't hear nothing for a while. They just released another album. That was the problem, that it was taking up a lot of their time, and I accept that. And then there was another guy who kind of said, let's build a record label, around you. And they found that the Awakening scenario might have been a bit too rigid for you anyway, because being a British singer-songwriter coming from the mainstream, it may have been a bit too rigid in terms of like the Islamic thing, and always trying to please a certain demographic and stuff. And for me, alhamdulillah, like look, I'm Muslim and I'm British, and I've got nothing to be sorry for. Like, you know, everybody's in terms of faith and where their iman is all in different places. Mm-hmm. It goes up and down, you know, throughout the year. It's, you know, Ramadan, it's perfect. Everyone's super religious and everything is haram and this and music, and then as soon as it ends, they're not. Our mind is up and down all the time. That's true. And that's what I use my own Islamic entertainment for, is that it allows me to constantly like re-establish my connection with Allah, constantly, all the time. And honestly speaking, I've been waiting for the younger community to come and take it and carry on, but there's been no one to fill the gap. And I have these discussions with Muslim celebrities, influencers, and we have these private meets and stuff, and we're like, can't the youth just take it and just go now? We've built the infrastructure, just go. But the problem is the landscape keeps changing. So you smash it on YouTube, and then
Streaming comes.
And then you smash it, CD sales. I smashed it on CD sales, right? I charted on iTunes and all that. So I transitioned quite well. I come at that time. And also, even after a bit of research, I was probably one of the last people in as being an established Nasheed artist. It was me and then Harris J come in the last minute. After that, there's been no tours, there's been no shows, there's been no one on the back of it. Obviously, COVID affected that, but at the same time, there has not been one tour ever since around those times. And it is kind of up to us to kind of put these shows on, and we work with charities as well, because we understand that there's dual benefits that we can get from. We get all of our supporters in one room, and we can raise awareness for projects. And then we can raise funds and help that. And that's me just, yes, I'm kind of, I don't know, just being exactly where I should be. And I felt, happy and stuff. So, yeah, man, I just kind of went into it for you. But I haven't really done that for a long, long time. I think because of the changes, there's so many changes. There's not one moment where we can sit back and kind of reflect, because I know that if we speak again next year, everything will change again. People wanted songs. They want to create an artist to record albums. Okay, that was the main objective back in the day. And then to chart on iTunes, and then Spotify streaming coming. And then now it's just like content, rather than the body of work. And then, yes, we had shows. I was really lucky. Like, I've been touring. I've always been touring. I'm really happy in that respect, and I've been very lucky. And now people are writing songs for TikTok. How can I get as many users on TikTok? For me, I'm just like, I had to kind of put my foot down and be like, I'm a singer-songwriter. Yes, I've got an influence, but I just want it to be around adding value to the community as opposed to taking them away for my own financial gain. And I've always found myself, when I follow my heart and happiness, the finance comes, success comes when you're on that route and stuff. So yeah, man, that's an
amazing
podcast
story.
over. There we go. Let's go.
I'm really honestly blown away, because it was so well spoken, and you really kind of narrate that story amazingly. So really, really interesting. I have so many questions, but I think my main part is sacrifice. Mm-hmm. That's what I took away from that story, is you sacrificed even potentially money on the table, even though it worked out for you in the end. A lot of individuals that would have gone through that transition may have felt a sense of regret later, or wow, that could have been me. But instead, you were happy with the sacrifice, you honored the sacrifice, and it paid off for you. So whilst your situation was quite unique, there are individuals out there that, they do have to learn the importance of sacrificing, and that there are certain trade-offs that you have to make in life, whether that is in business, whether, whatever it may be, there are trade-offs. So let's talk about the sacrifice and how people can deal with that when it comes to maybe a decision like that, where it's so heavy that you don't know where to start.
Well, the only difference was that the mainstream scenario had infrastructure, and the Islamic didn't have infrastructure. So, like, for example, when I'm sending my emails out, for some of the Islamic labels, it was coming back as bounce back. Like, that email isn't even live. So they'll just put contact at blah, blah, blah records. And so it's not, they haven't even built the infrastructure for us to even, grow. Sacrifice, in hindsight, you look at it and you think, at the time, how did I decide that? But I was just following my heart. I was just really following. I was like, I could go there, but that's going to lead to there, and then I'm going to embarrass my family. I'm going to embarrass myself, and it's just not viable. Like, we've got these things, and it doesn't even matter. It could be in music, it could be in business. Even when I was working in business, I excelled in that. I'm a good people person. I worked from the bottom, went to team leader, to quality coach, and to like managerial senior positions in finance, right? And at the same time, man, like, you reach that thing, Christmas party, you need to be there, you need to represent your team, you need to be at all these events, and where there's a bar and there's drinking and all of that. So in any field, everyone's reaching that, and the issue is that we didn't have the infrastructure back then. So now that we have the infrastructure, you could actually, I mean, I had to work for my fan base, but we've got people like, and he's my bro, Harris J, that there was an infrastructure created. So by the time that he could come in and go through the machine and reach out to as many people as possible. And the same with the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I went in, I signed a deal. I had access to all the artists and all the shows, industry events and stuff. So it could have gone where it could have went. With the Islamic side, there isn't that infrastructure. And I know that we're thriving in tech, we're thriving in charitable projects and stuff. But at the same time, has it been fixed? I don't think so. I think that our mindset as Muslims, even as British Muslims, no, actually globally, we seem to respect the Western more. So if I was doing this for dawah, and I never was, I was doing it for my own personal kind of gain in terms of my own connection with Allah and career. Yeah, like, you know. But if I was doing this for dawah, I should have actually become super famous in the mainstream and then just went, Allahu Akbar, and just done a faith-inspired album after having like millions and millions of followers, because you're just open to a bit wider audience. So that's always been difficult, but I think those battles really do make you stronger. So that now I'm working with charities, I'm working with Muslim brands, because I learnt so much by creating just the name Safe Adam, where imagine Facebook 0, Twitter 0, no one knew of the name, and I created it from 0 to a household name, going through all the Islamic kind of channels and all of that. And people have to understand that you've got mainstream media, which is, you've got millions of people. Okay, that's the space. But the Muslims only make up, maybe 10% of that, if that. So when you're reaching 10% and you're reaching 100,000 views or 10,000 views, you're doing a good job. You are doing a good, but we're kind of comparing it to Justin Bieber's latest release. And we're like, you can't do that. So one of them things, like, to maybe help inspire people is that you just got to keep going, just keep pushing. Just as long as you enjoy it, you'll do well, and surround yourself by good people. For me, I seem to work better on my own because everybody's got their own goals and objectives and stuff. And sometimes when your own goals have so many complexities in terms of cultural things and religion and family, sometimes it's just better to dig deep and what can you do by yourself? Like, what can you do? And that's how I've always worked. And that's how I've got a funding circle that raises money for charities, which we donate privately, because I was doing these shows and was raising funds for a project, and I didn't know in terms of accountability where the money was going exactly and how is it making a difference. And a fan donated 2,000. It was like, oh, can I have like feedback on that project? I couldn't even give feedback because I was so disconnected to the actual project, but I helped raise the funds and I used my fan base to raise the funds. So then I said, let me create my own projects. Let me speak to the charities. And they said, yes, definitely, come on board, be an ambassador, help us. And then I started directing my own, fan base to these charities and fundraising like millions. And that's kind of grown from there. So I'm always finding myself working with brands. When you go from 0 to, on Facebook, we went from 0 to 500,000. You learn so much. When you spend about 100 grand in adverts, you learn so much throughout that process that I want to give that knowledge to somebody else and be like, it's better to spend it this way. It's better to spend it this way because I've gone through that amount of money on ads. So it's easier spending other people's money, but when you do it yourself for your own money, it really hits, and you always kind of strategically kind of put your money in the place where it's
you make that
impact.
extra effort to learn.
Oh yeah, you're more accountable.
Exactly.
Accountability is super important for me in everything that I do, and I think that's what's allowed me to continue do what I do, and why my craft in terms of Safe Adam as a singer-songwriter will always be there. And we've got shows planned, inshallah for next year, but that will always stay. And like what I said in the beginning, was that it's because it was such a strong foundation, and I was very clear in what I wanted to do, that I was able to do it, and it enabled me to sustain it all that time, and then go left, go right, invest in businesses, try businesses out. I always have this interest with like Islamic Islamic products and stuff, and there's that curve where it's new. I love that bit there, that gap. not there. It gets boring when you succeed, by the way. When you smash it, it's a bit boring. You're like, oh, I want to do something else now. But that curve, oh, that's the most fun.
You feel the most emotion.
Oh, and you make the most money there as well. If we're talking about money,
True.
It's that curve and that, and that I'm super interested in that, and that's why I always help Nasheed artists. People will call me for advice, branding. I help charities for free and say, look, I think you should be doing this. I think this event will be better, and in terms of marketing and branding. So, yeah, I could go on forever, man. About
it's amazing, honestly, because you found the perfect balance between Deen and Dunya.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I take away, the most from everything is you stay true to yourself. And it's almost, I wouldn't say non-existent, but it's so uncommon nowadays for people to just be themselves and to not put on a facade and to not be someone that they're not. And it might be as little as, pretending like you're living a certain lifestyle on Instagram, right? But it's that core of accept who you are and hone in on that instead of running away from it. So for anyone that is in that position where, they are having those battles with themselves like you did yourself, what can you advise them?
I would say think inwardly, with myself, like, don't do something for a reaction from someone else, like I smashed it in my career, even back in the day, but that didn't mean that I was showing, like, I had Bentleys, Maseratis, all these nice cars and stuff. I'd never show it on social media. No one knows anything on social media because that's not the aim, is to show off on that side of the aim is, like Nike, right? They make trainers. They don't make shoes. Okay, so we're just gonna focus on the trainers and make the trainers as best as possible. Do not distract them from anything else. Yes, obviously they've got clothing as well, but if we're just talking about trainers or we're talking about football boots, it has to be that, and that is the main. For me, I knew that the main goal was that was the main goal, not a side thing of look at what, because I don't want people to ask me about how is your Porsche? How is the Bentley? I want you to ask about how did the Nasheeds help you? How's it, help sculpt? Even like car journeys, people used to contact me and be like, yeah, we listened to your CD, the whole journey. We've done this road trip and mashallah, it's amazing because we always struggle. We always listen to Sami Yusuf, but there isn't anybody else that we can listen to. And you provided entertainment for our kids to learn about Islam. And now they're asking me questions about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're asking me about where's Mecca, and I was like, they never asked us that. And that was the whole point, it was to be almost like a stepping stone. But there was a lot of errors along the way, which I really have to say is that I kind of dumbed it down because I felt that that's what the community needed. It needed to be dumbed down. Looking back, I never should have dumbed it down. I should have maintained the level of production, songwriting that I had with the mainstream, but it was just through bad advice from people around me saying, oh no, I think your songs are too clever, they need to sing along to your songs. Actually, they don't. That wasn't my role. I wasn't like a sing-along kind of artist. It was more of stories, deep stories, and introduce subjects of Islam so that the kids and even adults or reverts could connect with and learn about that. That was it, But I started, and for COVID, I took that as an opportunity to unlearn everything, all the bad habits, and refine and go back to basics, go back to where I really felt my strength was, and that was me holding my guitar. Remember, the guitar, we phased it out because of the cultural issues. Salam, brother, could you perform for us? We're looking to do a tour. However, could you not bring the guitar? But they only knew of me because of, there's this boy who performs with his guitar and he sings beautiful nasheeds. But I'm supposed to go to the event and not use my guitar.
You have to tread so carefully, almost.
Yeah, but that affected the brand because they knew me for that and we was on an upward trajectory. Do
you think that's the issue though? That's part of why a lot of talent, maybe they're not going in that direction because they feel like when they put themselves in a space of, the Islamic scene, it almost comes back to bite them because they're boxed in, but also they have to now appease everyone that is listening and watching. Whereas if you're in the mainstream, you're just almost unapologetic and you just dismiss any kind of criticism almost.
I think things are better now. That was the case, but like I said, because there was no infrastructure, and now that there is infrastructure in financial tech, there's in the arts, Islamic arts as well. There is. So
you can succeed within that space.
You can because the parents have seen it. before the parents didn't see it, all they want us is to be successful and happy. And they don't want us to channel all of our energy into calligraphy, Islamic calligraphy. They don't want us to, what are you doing? You need to be studying science. You need to be studying maths. Now there's some people doing Islamic calligraphy, traveling all over the world, hundreds of thousands, making so much money.
The world has become a lot smaller.
Yeah, completely agree. But they never would have known that as well, bro. And that's the thing. So I've never been, you always see me smiling, you always see me happy, because our parents never would have known what the internet could have done. If that was the case, we all should have studied,
computer science or something.
Computer science, online marketing, as soon as it come out, and, really, but then saying that, it's a different space. So when I'm marketing through Facebook, it's a complete different space now. I could target, so when I would release a Nasheed, would reach 1 million views within a month, easy, right? Because we could target things carefully through religion, and now there's controls in place that you can't even target religion anymore. So it's just got to be a space, a territory.
Spirituality.
Which we know that it doesn't work, so...
You just have to adapt as you go along, like you said at the beginning.
Yeah, and that is the advice, is to adapt. And when you see a problem, it's not a problem. That's you're being guided now. So there's that in a place. You've got your head strong, understand what your brand is, whatever it is, whether it be in art, whether it be in business, whether you want to create a new app or something. Just stay strong on your app. If you're doing an app, for example, like a prayer app, do not show your cars, your house, your family. Just show the app, show what it can do and how it can add value. Because as soon as you start spreading it out too wide, you struggle to push that main objective of what your app is and what it does. And that's just from a small... It's so hard to kind of explain, because every career has so many different intricacies and so many twists and turns. You could sing, and then you've got an angel. You could do an app, and you could have an angel investor to say, I'm going to give you $1 million for your app. I love the idea. Where you might have somebody else that's struggling on 5,000 followers on their Instagram because they're trying to push their app. It's so different. So you could never say one piece of advice that would relate to one person. But the one thing I would say is to stay true to yourself, understand what you want to do, and you have your own objectives, your own personal objectives between you and Allah. And if you can do that, then you're going to be happy, man. You'll never be, oh, I wish I'd done that. I wish I did this. You're always just going to follow your heart and just feel like you made the right decision, and you just follow through, man, and just keep pushing.
Because ultimately, that's where we all want to get to, is contentment. It's not necessarily leading with the finances. No. Where I think now the world has become very kind of focused on monetary or finances and, a certain amount of success, and that's what deems happiness. But in reality, it's not the case.
Recently, I turned down a deal where it was like a multi-million pound deal, right? Where it was working in an industry that I knew that within 5 years we could do 10 mil easy. But the meetings that we had to build that up, I was just not energized to even turn up the Zoom link and even just sit there. I was just like, my passion isn't here. My body was just telling me, I'm all right. I ejected myself out of that scenario because I knew that it's just not sustainable. It's for me, I'm just not happy. I just don't want to do it. So it's not about the money. But I'll tell the truth. I would never lie. I'd always say, if it was, yes, it's about the money. You can still make enough money, and when you look about cars and finance, we could go into another whole place in that. But you don't need to live a good life. You don't need £1 million a year to make and profit. You don't, So even if you was about money, let's say 500,000. Okay, let's say 200,000. You could still have everything that you want. It's not. So I would never chase that. If someone says, "Oh, it's a multi-million pound deal" and stuff like that, and we get approached a lot, by the way, because with influence, and when you team up religion with products, and people seem to think it's a good way to soften, the ask and stuff. So we're always fronted with lots of these different ideas, but I just try and keep it, myself. That's why I'm always singing, always songwriting. Not necessarily showing everything on social media in terms of my own goals, my own family, my own stuff, because I just want to keep it about that. But if I was a family brand and I want to get sponsorship from M&S or whatever, Tesco's, then I'll talk about what I want to eat, what I want to do. So if there's anyone listening that's looking to do a brand within photography, just make that page about photography. Make that page and see how deep you can go in that. And that forces you, because I know people say, oh, but I run out of content. Just go deeper then. Go even more deeper.
Don't try to distract from the main core of the...
Yeah, because it just complicates the message in the end. But again, that's at that point, you know, we're at zero. So when you're at zero, there's no point mixing it up. I know when it gets to that, people want to know the man behind the brand. They want to know what you eat and what you do. But that's a different level. So there'll be a different piece of advice for someone at that stage. Do you get it?
100%.
It's mad, isn't it? It's like, so there's not one piece of advice.
Universal advice.
There isn't.
But there's still a lot of value that can be seen from your story. By the way, I might have to hold you to a part 2, because this is, I mean, such an enjoyable conversation. Cool, I think we've probably just about hit, half of the service, but well, I'll hold you to that, because we are running out of time. But before we end, let's have a little bit of fun. We've been quite informative and educating, and all of that stuff. Let's loosen up a little bit.
Let's do it.
So we're gonna get to know Saif a little bit
more. It's
your
fault. You're asking me questions, and I'm just like,
no, but you know what?
And I'm trying to be real because
I love it. I love it because it's episodes like this where I can just really sit back and listen. You're so well spoken and really kind of thoughtfully going through the story, and I'm sure everyone at home is loving it. So I'm sure there's people that have maybe fallen in love with you that never even seen you before, and I'm sure they're keen to know you in a bit more of a personal level. So we call this a rapid fire question. So not too thought behind it, just kind of the first answer that comes to your head.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Night in or night out?
Night in.
Pepsi or Coke?
Neither.
Money or love?
Love.
Laundry or dishes?
Dishes.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee now, used to be tea.
Your favourite city in the world?
London.
Nice car or nice home?
Both.
Cheating. Netflix or YouTube?
YouTube.
It was more important for you in your journey.
Yeah, man.
AJ or Fury?
AJ.
If it happens.
Yeah.
Your football man, Ronaldo or Messi?
Ronaldo.
What's your favourite supercar?
Lambo. Aventador.
Well, very specific.
Yeah, but for myself, because I'm family, Ferrari FF. That's something that I'm aiming for. Yeah,
I like that. I don't think we've had that actually.
It's 4 seats. That's why I need 4 seats.
You're trying to like make sure everyone is good.
I want to enjoy it, with my missus and family. There's no point having a supercar if you can't enjoy it with them.
100%.
Yeah.
Horror or comedy movie?
Comedy always.
When you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
On the phone. I'm always working, man. I'm always working.
All-time favorite meal?
Burgers and chips.
What was your first job?
McDonald's, and I learned a lot from that. Loads.
Production line.
Oh man, so you have to turn up on time. As a kid, we just turn up when we do. So it was my first job, and it was a brand new McDonald's down my road that opened, so that it was fresh, and they taught us exactly. You have to, your uniform, this is how you have to wear it. You remember at school, we always used to remix the uniform. They were like, there's no remixing the uniform, you wear the uniform. And then when you've done everything, find work to do, keep busy. I've always implemented that in everything I do, so I could complete my daily tasks. And I'll be like, well, I can't just sit and do nothing idle. And just stand there and just watch TV. I got to do more. I got to do something. So it taught me a lot.
I love that.
Yeah,
where would you like to retire? Essex.
Yeah, Essex, man.
Stick to your roots.
A lot of land, peace and quiet, and London's not too far.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, nice and peaceful, the greenery and all that.
Yeah, man.
Passenger or driver?
Driver.
A role model growing up?
My dad, I'd say. Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Who's your favourite cousin?
They're all special.
And if you had, we were trying to put you on, a little bit of pressure there, because I'm sure they're watching. And if you had one superpower, what would it be and why?
What would be my superpower? So there's cheeky. one, but there's a good one. I'll do the serious one. If I could tell the future, that would be awesome, but I'd use it for good to prepare people and things for things that are going to happen. But because ever since I've become a father, I've got a daughter and I've got another one. Preparation is key. And I've learnt that, and I think when people prepare for success or prepare for failure, it's a lot easier to deal with. That's an honest. I mean, you've got me deep on this podcast, so that's my honest kind of thing, is being able to tell the future, but to kind of prepare people for.
Has your outlook on life changed since you've had children, because you had such a great relationship with your parents as well?
Yeah, definitely. It's almost like everything that I saw in them has kind of filtered into me, and I treat my daughter the same as how they treated me. Very intricate things when I wake up my daughter, she needs to wake up for school. My parents used to very softly save, wake up. And I'll do the same for my daughter, as opposed to wake up, because I would never do that. They were very gentle, but very strict at the same time, but very gentle. So I'm very gentle with my daughters and stuff. So I think I've got that from them. And everything used to be about family. So a happy day, bad day, you've got your family, and your happiness is with them, and I think that's where I get a lot of my happiness. I enjoy working, and I enjoy helping brands and helping people, and doing a lot of the charity work, but also my happiest moments are those moments with my family and doing things. So I enjoy reaching milestones, like family milestones, more so than business ones, actually, because business is just so throwaway in that sense, where you could be a millionaire, you could have a thriving business, but at the same time, everything can be, everything can change. COVID has taught us that.
So is that what you would deem success to being for you personally?
Oh yeah, family. For me, is respect from your parents, family, and contentment, like what you said. Is contentment. That contentment is priceless. Anyone listening, contentment is priceless. You might already be there, and you're searching for something, and you're scrolling through Instagram, and you're like, oh, I want that, I want this, I want that. But it's contentment. That's the fight. I think that's what people should be trying to push for.
And it's beautiful that throughout your story, I guess you kind of learnt your purpose.
Yeah.
For you as a human being, even, and you stuck to that in no matter what capacity you're doing. It's just about, how do I give back? How do I help? How do I benefit people in the future? So beautiful story.
Thanks,
I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I hope you also enjoyed. Is there any final message you want to leave with the viewers?
I'm good, man. I mean, I'm sorry to go so deep on everyone.
No, loved it.
I just felt like it's a great opportunity whilst people are listening, whether they're in the gym, whether they're at home, watching on YouTube. It's a pleasure to be here and to speak to you guys, and especially
thank you for coming on.
Thanks for talking. Felt like friends talking.
Yeah,
we never met,
yeah.
And it felt like friends.
It was beautiful, yeah. And if anyone wants to follow you and support you and kind of see what you're up to, what's the best place for them to follow you? Social media, all of the platforms. Safe Adam, just search it and you'll find it. We've got tours coming up soon from November all the way to next year. These nice little intimate back to basics tours. So it's me at the guitar. So I'm not just saying, I believe what I say. When I'm saying about I want to go back to exactly how it was and how I was founded by the community, you really mean that?
I'm going back to that, and I'm going to do these little shows where 100-seaters all across the UK throughout the whole of next year. Really exclusive. When the tickets are gone, they're gone. But that's how I started. That's how I built my audience, by doing these quirky gigs, 100-seaters. And really special moments spent with people. So
amazing. We'll put that all in the description. I hope you all enjoy this episode. Be sure to subscribe, and also be sure to follow Safe and support the journey. I'll see you soon.